If you're selling insurance and you're getting things like low show rates, if people aren't buying enough policies from you, if people aren't keeping their policies, and you manage to somehow swindle them into getting, then I have a real treat for you. But first, I need to actually give these to my little four-legged friends down here. Good. Oh, good boy. Come on, get up there. Good girl. I love you. All right, watch out, you little crazies. All right, we're going to map out your funnel and your strategy, teach you how to diagnose and fix anything you have going wrong with your business on my handy dandy new 75-inch smart board that I paid a penny for. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mason Van Meter. I'm the founder of presoldout.com, a best-selling author. I just published a new book called The Lead Trap. You need to go grab it if you want to learn how to build a lead machine for your business that gets you off the lead vendor's dick if you don't want to keep giving them money. And it teaches you how to fish for yourself, build your own fishing pole, really establish your own business. And if you're already a returning viewer, if you're already on this channel hanging out with me for a while, welcome back. It's good to see you again, my friend. All right. So all we're going to talk about in this video is helping you earn more money. But first off, realize this is a YouTube video, so no earnings, promises, earning disclaimers, anything like that. I'm not promising you shit. I don't know how well you are to follow off. You could fuck off after this video and watch some stupid Taylor Swift video. Anyways, let's go back to the handy dandy whiteboard. We're going to map all this shit out for you today. Let's get handy dandy red. And so there are steps to every part of your funnel. And as soon as you know how to diagnose this, every single step, it will be very clear on what your next move should be. Okay? The end of the funnel, we're going to read this left to right. So from opt-in to close, we have a sold policy over here, right? So we got sold policy. We got a customer. All right, you should be able to see that. We got a sold policy with this fucked up Y, all right? Like, why the hell did I ever give a lead vendor money? People are bitches. So we have a sold policy. Now, what has to happen in order for someone to be sold a policy? So this is over here where we're making our money. Let's say we want to do $50,000 a month, right? We want to do $50,000 of commissions in a single month. What has to happen in order to do that? We need to reverse engineer this and say, well, what is my average cash collected? How much do I actually get advanced on average from the sales that I make? Now, let's say for most agents, it's going to be $500. So we're getting $500 on average cash collected per policy sold. So this is cold hard commissions, motherfucker. All right, Montana, you need to chill it out, bro, or you're in trouble, like the viewer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take 50,000 and we're going to start doing some math. I know that scares some of you people off, so we'll just get out the calculator. What we're going to do is divide 50,000 divided by 500. So this is 100 sales that we have to make. This is going to tell us how many sales we got to make. All right. So now we're at 100 sales. Now, how do we determine what the next step is? What has to happen in order for you to get 100 sales? Well, you got to factor in your closing ratio. What percent of sales calls do you convert? Meaning out of 100 people, how many would you close? Let's do an easier one. Let's do out of 10 people, how many would you realistically, don't bullshit yourself, how many would you close out of 10? Let's say for most people, it's going to be around 40% closing ratio. They would close 40%. Now, if you want to, by any means, cut your workload in half, you can double your price. You cut the rest of the funnel needed in half. Meaning, if it's $1,000 cash collected on average per sale, you only need 50 sales. And it's a hell of a lot easier to get 50 sales in a month than it is to get 100. All right? So what has to happen next in order for you to get a 40% closing ratio? Well, you have to get people to show up to their call, right? So how many sales calls first need to show up in order for you to close 100 sales? So what we're going to do is we're going to take 100 divided by 40%. So you need 250 sales calls to show up in order, like for these people actually have to talk to you and get all the way through to the pitch in order for you to close 40%, to get 100 sales, to get $500 cash collected on average, to get $50,000 in commissions in a single month. What happens next? like I said, they have to show up. So what is your average show up ratio? Meaning, if you book 10 sales calls, what percent show up? Let's say for most people, it's half. So 50% booking ratio, show up ratio. We're going to take 250 divided by 50%. It's going to be 500 calls. It's easy math, all right? 250 divided by 50% is going to be 500. So we need 500 to show up. We need 250 sales calls out of that. Now, what has to happen in order for your show up ratio, like percent of leads do you contact, turn into booked appointments? If 10% of the leads you talk to turn into booked appointments, that's going to factor in something differently. If it's 20% of leads, so like how many leads does it take you to get a booked call? Is it 7? Is it 10? Like where it comes down to, you have to know your numbers. You cannot make educated decisions based on the feeling of the day. All right, you've got to know this stuff, back of napkin, top of mind at all times, because it tells you exactly what you need to work on. What is the highest leverage thing I could be doing right now? I learned that from Brian Tracy's Phoenix seminar. I encourage you, go give that a watch. It is a fantastic masterclass in time management and just good lifelong principles you should follow. So 50% show up. So you need 500 sales calls. Now, what percent of leads book a call? Let's say it's 15% of your total leads you end up booking a call with after contacting, because we're just going to shortcut the lead to contact book. So 15% of your total, so 500 divided by 15% is 3,333 repeating forever. So you need 3,333 leads in order to book 500 sales calls, in order for 250 to show up, in order for you to close 40% of them to make 100 sales to collect $500 per policy sold on average, cash collected, to earn $50,000 in commissions in a single month. Now, let's look at wherever you have shit going wrong in the funnel. So keep in mind, if you make changes back here, it affects everything this way. If you make changes back here, it affects everything this way. If you double what you want to make, you have to double everything else. If you double what you charge, you cut everything else in half. All right? And so you have to know how these numbers are interchangeable, because it tells you exactly what to diagnose in your business. So you looking at this, where is the highest leverage for you? If you've mapped this out with me, which you should have, if not, go back, rewatch this last couple minutes and figure out what this is for you. If you need help with this, there'll be a link down below in the description that will map this out for you. And it will tell you exactly what the fuck you need to fix in your business so you can stop being so damn poor. All right? So where is the biggest change that we can make? Is it the price? Is it our closing ratio? If we close 40% of our deals to get those 100 sales, like on average is going to be our highest leverage. Let me know in the comments what you think that is. Let's say for someone, their show up rate is 50%. That's abysmal, but so is the closing ratio. Where is the most effective thing where I have to do the least amount of shit in order to change? It's, for me, probably going to be doubling my price per policy sold. Let's see how this factors in for the rest of the funnel. If on average, I collect $1,000 in cash, we're going to use a different color for this because I'm fancy. All right, so we got 1,000. We no longer sell $500 cash collected policies. We're selling things in the $2,000 a year in premium range. So we're collecting $1,000 per sale. We now cut this in half down to 50 sales needed to get the same $50,000. We now cut this 40, or the 40% is still going to stay the same, but that means we only need to work 125 sales calls in order to make the same amount of money. We also only need to book half as many if that stays the same. And on top of that, we also cut our lead flow in half. So now we're sitting at roughly 1,700 leads. Now, if you're factoring in an average lead price of $20, 17 times 20, that's $34,000. Had we not cut that in half by simply changing one thing, we would have had to have spent $68,000 to make $50,000 in that single month. And some people would hear that and say, well, Mason, that's a losing situation. For most agents, yes, because they never focus on the back end LTV of a customer, meaning how can I get customers to spend more often? How can I get them to buy a second policy, a third policy, a fourth policy, refer a friend, get their children's policies, whatever. We're trying to optimize for getting good customers at a fair price. All right. But we just cut our monthly advertising bill in half simply by changing what we sell to more expensive shit. And if you can't cash collect $1,000 per policy, you're probably selling to poor people and you should stop. We cut our expenses in half simply by doubling what we charge. So we're selling $2,000 a year roughly in annual premium per policy sold, which means everything else we cut in half. Now, what else could we do? What about our closing ratio? Because before we were getting about $68,000 to make $50,000 a month. And that's still a good win because you're getting customers. It's probably a year to break even on that, or wait months 9, 10, 11, and 12 for all the tail ends of the policies to start kicking in. But we want as quick of a sales cycle as possible and to get as much LTV upfront as possible. Because if we get $1 on Monday and $2 out on Tuesday, how many dollars would you put in the machine? The answer is infinity. I encourage all of you to go get a Express Business Gold card if you're doing something like buying leads or running paid ads, because one, the bonus is you're going to get 4 points back, I believe, for every dollar spent on advertising. And so that, if you spend as much as I do in a month on advertising and marketing, you're going to get a lot of fucking points. You have a lot of free trips. I'll leave a link down below you should really go check out because you're already spending that money. And so the name of the game is, how do I get more value out of what I'm already doing? This is called efficiency. This is called leverage. It's the point of the video. You're already going to spend the money, so you might as well put it on a fucking credit card that you can pay off. All right. So no, it's not credit advice. If you have $1,000, if you want to cut it in half again, get up to $2,000 cash collected per policy. Sell more expensive shit. Get a better avatar. Now you only got to get 25 sales in a month. Now you only have to get 60 freaking sales calls. You have to get 62 and a half sales calls. You only have to book 125. But the next thing we should focus on fixing is this fucking little thing right here. You're a grown adult. You can sell people. Okay? 40% abysmal closing ratio. If you're not closing at half at a bare minimum for an average agent, something is fucked. All right. Now, if you need the sales process dialed in, I give you my free sales script inside of this book, The Lead Trap. Go get it from Amazon. It's a fantastic read. It'll tell you, like I said, to stop being dependent on lead vendors and build your own machine that you're in control of. All right. I don't know how people in this industry just are like the fucking Forrest Gump. They're just feathers in the wind getting blown around by the tides of the industry. 40%, we need to get this up to 70 at a minimum. I would like to see 90, if not 100. Mason, 100% is unreasonable. No, it's not. I'm under the assumption that if these people are stepping into my drive-thru, they're probably fucking hungry. And I may just not have anything that's appetizing on the menu, or my pricing's wrong, or something's fucked up out there and they're pulling out of the drive-thru. I can count on maybe 2. The amount of times I've pulled out of a drive-thru. There are people who will sit there for 20 minutes and wait for their fucking Big Mac. Now, so 70% closing ratio is what you should be at. Once again, that shaves down the amount of work you have to do before that. Now, here's the important part of this video. There are steps you have to do in order to get to the green. All right. In order for us to raise our price, there is a mini funnel inside of the funnel itself. And there's a strategy for the strategy. There are these little miniature tactics. All right. So in order to double the price, we have to other steps. Step 1 could be finding a better avatar. Step 2 could be understanding the more long-term downstream consequences of our audience. Step 3 could be getting a better sales presentation. Step 4 could be not thinking with your own fucking wallet. What's expensive to you is fucking pennies for someone else. We all have a category that we overspend on. For me, that's scuba diving. For me, that's motorcycles. I have to have the most, what's it called, bougiest and badassest of that materialistic stuff. For me, I overspend on those categories. Maybe for you, it's going to fucking games and getting drunk and yelling at men in tight pants while they slap the other person's ass and run balls down the field. I don't, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's going to the bar. Maybe it's buying fucking teas and getting lit. Maybe it's buying, like, whatever the categories you overspend on, that shit is cheap to you that may be expensive to someone else. We all have steps inside of the funnel, and each one of these also has their own percentages. Or are there steps that I'm asking them to do too much? Am I not asking them? Am I not putting enough friction on them? I've added more form fills to an opt-in page and gotten a better opt-in as a result of it. Most of the time that would not happen. The less friction, it's usually the higher opt-in. But for this specific, I was selling to business owners in this funnel, the more friction I put showed them that I had a better understanding of their problems from the quality of questions I asked. And it went from like a 4 question opt-in to like a 9. It was fucking extensive, but there were just things I needed to know before we even got on the phone, or else they're not qualified. And I don't want to spend all my time educating people. So it could be that, like, what has to happen before, what has to happen during, what has to happen after for us to see this effect of a increased cash collected. For the most part, it's going to be changing your audience. If you can't change your people, it's time to change your people. Meaning, if you can't charge more to the current audience you're selling to, like if you're selling to broke, final expense seniors who can only afford a $15,000 burial policy, it's going to be very hard to get more cash collected out of that unless you start selling them things like fucking credit and American flags and pocket Bibles or some shit. You can add digital products as an insurance agent, by the way. It's smart. I may do a masterclass on it soon. So we have these 6 steps, but how do we do that? A lot of times you just sell better carriers. So maybe it's getting a new contract. But anyways, there are steps within the overarching steps, there are tactics in the overarching strategy that allow you to do this. What makes up a 70% closing ratio? The sales process. Are you getting on there and making assumptions that because they opted in, they want that? And so you say, hey, happy to meet. By the way, so we have term and whole life and it's going to be $30 a month to come buy my bullshit. And then they don't buy. Well, it's because these steps are wrong, which are contributing to that 40% close ratio. You're talking to people who know they desperately have a problem, and they're probably price sensitive customers, which is why 60% of them don't buy from you. 60% of people tell you no, turn you down, reject you, and faster than like a fucking Tinder or something. We have to change it. Like, what step would I have to follow to increase my closing ratio, or to remove friction from the sales process, to remove resistance? I'm already under the assumption that because they opted in, they wanted something. It doesn't mean you have to treat people as if they know nothing about their problems, because most of the time, what you two are communicating about are completely separate things, all right? So for over here, we have to get in the right steps. Like I said, if you need to know what the steps are for the sales process, I have what's called the profit framework, or my conviction call script. Go follow it. It's a 6-step sales process where we don't make assumptions. We have to educate them on their problems. We have to pry out the consequences of what's going to happen. We're going to have to reveal what's going to happen if they need this and don't have it. We have to do an overview of everything they've tried and has not worked that got them to the point where they are right now. Because if you don't address that, you're a one-trick pony, you're being one-sided, you're not acknowledging the polarity of what they've tried and why it has not worked. You've not given them reasoning and let them off the hook from that damaging admission they have to make about why they don't have their life the way they want it when it comes to financial success. We have to free them from their cage. We have to isolate their inactivity or handle their objections. And then T is we transform their identity. Those are the 6 steps I would follow to get something like a 90% closing ratio. And this is for like average agents. Follow the profit framework. You will get more sales by not being salesy. You will get people to sell themselves. We don't make assumptions that here's the overlying principle of this step that comprises such a high close rate. We don't assume they want it. We treat them as if we've never talked to them before. We have no clue what the fuck they know. And we don't assume that they want the policy. Even though we know they're there, yes, that's the biggest leverage you have. But the thing is, if you assume, you just give them the answers. Success is caught. It is not taught, my dear friend. I cannot teach you anything. I can only show you things, give you information, ask you questions that get you to come to the conclusion that I want you to have yourself. If I give you the same information that I have to come to a conclusion, there's a very high likelihood you will too. And so we want to ask them questions that get them to see things from our perspective. Meaning, if you had this problem, what would help you out? What would you not want to happen? What do you want to happen? What if there was something that could help that make that? And the thing you don't want to happen could never happen. Would you be against doing that? No. Okay? So you're just human nature against humans. You're using it with them, not against them. You're using it for them with the right intent. All right? That's what selling is about. Selling is not about convincing people to do what they have no desire to fucking do. It's about giving them permission to do what they already desire to do. Okay? People naturally say yes. Humans are naturally people pleasers. Let them fucking do it. Let them please for once. Let them stop getting steamrolled. All right? So we don't assume. If you already know the answer of what they need, that's cool. Do they? If you tell them it's a terrible idea, if they tell them it's the best thing since sliced bread and bidets. Now, with the 90% closing rate, we cut a lot of this bullshit back as well. You don't need 125 sales calls. You would need like 60, 50 sales. All right, it'd be more than that, but you get the point. The higher you get this, you change everything else and you don't have to work as hard. The better you get the numbers, and it has a multiplicative, not an additive, but a multiplicative effect. If you go from closing 40% to 90%, you 2.5x'd your entire business. If everything stays the same, if you close 90% of 125 sales calls, you're making way more than $50,000. All right? Understand that. So we want to say, where is the next highest lever? 50% show up rate. That is fucking, you should have at least an 80% show up rate. There's some things you're probably not doing before that causes you to only have 125 show up out of 250 booked. You're probably missing some things like pre-call education, post-appointment booking, nurture. So something I like to do is run retargeting ads to people I've booked calls with, showing them educational stuff and driving that frequency. I want them seeing my face so many times before they get on a call with me. That way, one, I'm remembered. Two, I have top of mind awareness. And three, they're genuinely excited. Like, okay, with him on Tuesday, I'm going to show up. I do the same thing for webinars or anything. I want to retarget them and spend a couple extra dollars per lead to better qualify them. Why? Better educated customers make better purchasing decision. I heard that one from Jason Fladlin. I absolutely love that line. Now, the thing is, does not mean we're teaching people. If you're teaching people, that's why you have a 40% fucking close rate. You're going in there and teaching them stuff rather than qualifying them, meaning walking them through the awareness bridge, the sales process of what happens when you need this product and you don't have it. You ask questions that put them into a scenario of needing the product and not fucking, and then when they don't have it, they have to look at their family as the man or woman of the house and say, I allowed this to fucking happen. That shame, that fear, that hurt, that guilt, that sadness, that anger is going to cause them to finally fucking take action on something you and I know they need to take action on. For some people, it's going to say, Mason, it sounds fucking terrible. Of course it is fucking hard. Why we get paid the big bucks? If we don't have the balls to have this conversation with them, that's not noble if we just beat around the bush. I think that's being a pussy. All right? If you're not willing to have hard conversations with people and let them know that their family is royally fucked, then you probably shouldn't be an agent. The show up rate should be 80%. There's a couple things that you have to do. You have to get them to realize problem. Like, why do people go show up rates? It's because the motherfucker booking a call doesn't understand the consequences of not showing up. You have to show people the consequences of not taking the next step. If you don't fix any of this, you stay poor and people make fun of you. That's what happens. Like, does that a bad person for guilting you or showing you the consequence? No, it's called reality. And by all means, if you want to go do business with fucking $20,000 masterminds where they people please and they all fucking jerk their off and they're like splooging out of their eyes on each other while they read Bible passages that none of them fucking live up. Or maybe you want to go deal with some bitch ass lead vendors who go take your money and lease cars to take fucking Insta pictures with because they're men who are insecure and need fucking approved validation. Like, you have to realize all this shit you see online, it's not fucking doctored. You see a 60-second snapshot of these motherfuckers. And I can promise you, if you hung out with them behind the scenes, like I have, most of them, one, they couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper sack. If you were out there getting jumped, they would leave you high and dry and your ass would get shot. You would get stabbed and beat and trampled to death because you hung out with some bitches who wouldn't stand up for you or have your back in a fucking fight. Are those the people you want to do business with? You have to understand the consequences. All right, that's why I make fun of these people. There's so many that go into stuff like this. How versed are the leads? How educated are they? What do they currently know? What assumptions are you making of them? There's all this stuff that precedes the next step. All right. What I encourage you to do is rewatch this multiple times because this is a fucking master on how to diagnose anything in your fucking business. And if at any point you need help, like I said, there's a link down below. It will diagnose your business for you as long as you're realistic. If you go in there and fucking lie like you do to everybody else, like you do to yourself and you compromise, it's not going to help you. It's going to make you feel really good and say, oh, you go, queen. You get that bag. You scale that business. No, most of you don't have a fucking business. You have a job that you traded for the fucking security of another job where someone actually knew what the fuck they were doing to some extent to get you to come work for them and give you their time for their limited amount of money. All right. So there's steps at every point of this. What could we do next? Well, once we get the show up rate to 80%, or how do we get 15% of leads booked to go up? How do we get that to like 30%? Diamond, you quit that right now. Get her. Leads booked to go up. Follow them harder. We run our advertising. We remarket to them. We go after warmer audiences. Like, there's so many different steps to do. But this is what I'm saying. I've given you a lot of shortcuts and cheat codes that are just like good business practices to fix. Once you diagnose where your metric is the fucking weak, right? When you diagnose what's wrong, you would say, what would happen if I fix this one thing to everything else? Eventually, you're going to get to a point where the juice is worth the squeeze and you don't fucking fix what ain't broken. All right? Like, if you get business already, that I would be happy with fucking running at this point. 125 sales calls a month with a 90% close ratio. Like, at that point, you're not closing 50. You're closing what? 5 times 90%. You're closing 113 sales. 15 sales. That's $113,000 cash collected on average. You just doubled your like that's it's $1.25 million a fucking year. You don't touch anything about this. You just keep fucking doing it until it's broken. And then you re-diagnose the entire strategy, the entire funnel, and say, what fuck I have to do more? Do I just have to spend more? Because with anything, eventually you're going to hit a point where it goes to colder and colder audiences, and those people cost more because they're less warm. They know less. They are less interested. They care less. There's less audience overlap. There's less installed beliefs and agreements before they even show up. So this is how you diagnose any step of your business, right? So think, what are the steps I would take if I wanted to increase the amount of leads I have? Book a call with me. I'm going to get a setting team. I'm going to call all my leads. You'd be amazed at the amount of people who do not call all their fucking leads 12 to 15 times within 72 hours. What are the steps you're currently taking? Write this down for every single step. You're going to do this for your business, as well as you're going to do the intermediary steps, meaning what are the 3 to 18 steps that I take that are currently getting this result? How do I diagnose, and these are each going to have on conversion percentage, and you're going to see the leverage on what you can change. Maybe it's one simple tweak we make over here, like going to a better audience or changing our targeting on the ads or getting a better ad creative. Maybe it's getting rid of static images, not being a lazy bitch, not being a pussy, and getting behind the camera and filming a fucking video. You'd be amazed at what that can do for things like lead cost and conversions on the back end, is just having the balls to get on camera and say something. What's the worst thing that happens? They dislike it. They leave a mean comment. What are they going to do? They've got hands, so you're good. All right? None of them got these fucking pitches. All right? They can't bench press 315 like your boy. I got it. Let's fucking go. I got your back. If you're getting dickheads on your ads commenting shit, just tag me in it. I'll come in there. I'll fry their ass, okay? I'll tell them you better scramble like some eggs before you get folded like a fucking omelet. Over here messing with my agents, all right? Looking for a solid team to go to. I have agencies that already are operating at very high margin. They have solid lead generation practices. If you want to know who those agencies are, you don't want to do any of this shit yourself, you don't want to take all the risk of spending a bunch of money on ads and building a real funnel, a real business, I'll have some links down below to a list of agencies. I do have equity in a lot of them, but they're fantastic. I do their marketing, and they are a great opportunity if you just want to come in and only focus on fucking selling. So if that's you, there will be a link down below in the description. If you want this built for you, if you're doing at least $10,000 a month in commissions, you can apply down below for me to come in and install the lead machine into your business. And this is the same lead machine I talk about in the lead trap that pre-sells leads. I'll give you one last little bonus training inside of this training. So the last thing we can do is understand there are things that have to happen before. This is the pre-selling, okay? If you look at the book Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, he talks a lot. He misses a lot of things in there, but what he talks about is in order to get something, it matters more to address what happens before it. Meaning they had a study where they gave students a hot and a cold beverage, and then they quizzed them, they surveyed them at the end of their class on what they felt, what they thought about their teacher. And everybody who got the cold beverage said, well, he was rude, he was cynical, he didn't pay any attention to me. He's a douchebag. And all the people that got warm drinks, they were like, he was fantastic. I've never had a me who I felt really cared about me getting the material. It's like listening to fucking Mason Meter on YouTube. This is in Robert's book. Like, you can go look at that. It's somewhere in our play. Okay? So what happened not at, but before matters more. Okay? There was another thing on Persuasion where it said about compliance. Girls who asked guys, hey, will you go, someone just stole my purse. This big scary guy stole my purse. They were standing in front of when they asked the men if they would go, or the names of the streets. Like, hey, he went down Fug Lane. A lot of the guys would not comply. They would not help the woman get her purse back. But a lot of the women who were standing in front of like Victoria or like the flower show or things like that, like the environment, what happened next, and they got more compliance out of the men. Or they said he went down Valentine Street. They were more likely to get compliance because of what came before it. All right? Happens to get a 90% show up ratio. The people show up understanding why they're there and what is going to take place. Show up, you have to educate them on the call, which is why you get a 40%. And your closing rate is so low, your cash collected is so low because you have to educate them on the call, and then they have decision fatigue. They just sat through a fucking hour lecture about what life insurance is and all this crazy shit that they didn't give a fuck about. They knew nothing about the problem, and now they're overwhelmed because they just took in a lot of pointless information that had no relevance. So the stimulus response is to not buy. It's to delay. It's to procrastinate. Now, if you did all of that work, if you front-loaded the work by getting really great at marketing, all the stuff you do back here sells all of this. If you get someone who knows you, likes you, and trusts you before they even get on the call, are they more likely or less likely to buy something from you? The answer to that is blatantly obvious. Okay? Someone who knows you, likes you, and trusts you is way more higher probability to close, to buy, to spread their wallet open for you. All right? Someone's going to complain about that fucking analogy. The way he talks about people. See, that's another thing you have to understand when it comes to advertising. The price of clarity is the cost of insult. If you don't know who your audience is, it's like fucking farting and then getting mad when it stinks. All right? It's just dumb. It's dumb. When you know who your audience is, you know who they are not. You know who you're not selling to. And You know what's awesome to the people who would love to work with you is offending the people they can't fucking stand. All right, look at Donald Trump, for example. You either love the motherfucker or you think he is the worst man on the planet. You fucking you hate him, and everyone who disagrees with you is apparently a Nazi in today's world. So I like pissing those people off who think that everyone who disagrees with them is a racist or a bigot or a Nazi or anti-Semitic or something. Fucking these people, what their definitions are, they cannot articulate a single thing. And for me to go and cater to that audience would result in me lowering ultimately my bottom line in building a business, actively serving people I can't fucking stand to be around. No winner wants to be around people like that, the fucking stricken motherfuckers who hate everybody. What do my audience hate? Being taken advantage of. They think they can get better results elsewhere. They're smarter. They think that they can get better results if they just had something like their own lead system. That's an underlying suspicion I know my audience has, that the lead vendors are fucking them over. And see, you have to understand to do this stuff in your own shit. All right, when you're doing your own advertising, if you want things like this, you have to know how to communicate with your audience. Everything you want, it could all be yours if you had the words to say. If you know the words to say, all this green shit starts coming true from you, and you start getting rid of all the red. All right? So what happens before matters. So to sum all this up, go diagnose your business. And the biggest principle of this is you need to focus on pre-selling them to raise the next metric. If you get better at advertising, you're going to get better quality leads that have a way higher show-up rate, phone a lot more. They show up more educated. They show up with more affinity and connection to you because they know, like, and trust you. They have a higher closing ratio. They buy more expensive shit more often from you, and you don't need as many of them because they're worth so much to your business. All right? I hope you understand that. So, like I said, if you're an agent already doing $10,000 a month in commissions and you would like me to install the lead machine into your business, you can apply the pre-sold out lead machine down below to escape the lead trap. I encourage all of you to go read this book. It'll tell you how to build everything I'm talking about. There will also be a link down below in the description for you to go map this out for yourself. If you don't want to rewatch this or draw it out, anything like that, it will do it for you at the click of your greedy little fingers. So go, it's not behind an opt-in or anything. Go there, do that, and hope you really enjoyed this. Share it with somebody if you did, and I don't know, leave a negative comment if you didn't. I'll love you all. I'll see you on the next one.